there, Steve. When you want to get ready, you're ready to go.
Okay. Let's go. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can you call the roll, please?
Okay, we have present Matt Barger, Karen Martin, Jim Carter, Steve Burke, Nathaniel Monks, Mark Gassia, and Pat Kepke. So we have a full quorum.
So we can approve the prior meeting minutes.
I move for approval.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Minutes are approved. So, President's report. So, I'll move this thing away a little bit. So, this is an exciting time for Pelican Marsh. At the annual meeting, we seated a new board. You'll see some new faces up here. We have Margie Cassia and Pat Kepke, two new members, and me, Steve Burke. We have elected officers. I was asked to serve as president, and we have an administrative vice president, Jim Carter, president of finance and technology, Nathaniel Monks, secretary, Margie Cassia, and one of the retired board members, Jerry Carbone, has agreed to serve as our non-board member treasurer for a year. And we are grateful on several fronts to have him. Since the inception of Pelican Marsh, Jerry's been here. So in the several decades that he's lived here, I think he's actually gone 2 years without being on the board, and which is quite something. And he has served as both president and treasurer. He's well familiar with the role. Additionally, as you all know, this is the year of the building of the food and beverage service, which we are all excited about. The community was solidly behind this idea, and Jerry has vast construction experience, is going to be one of the principal people interacting with our construction superintendent, keeping an eye on the project. And so we're very, very fortunate to have him on both accounts. I can say personally that this board is really excited about the challenges that lie ahead. We understand that this summer is going to be really busy here, and the community is going to be intimately involved with this construction project. It's going to be right next to us the whole time, but we are hopeful that many people who don't currently use the facilities here at Pelican Marsh, who don't come to the community center, who aren't involved in any of the court sports or cards, bocce, will be coming to meet their friends and neighbors for food and drink together and foster an even greater sense of community than we already have here. So we're very hopeful that this will be the case, and we're excited about it. So later in our program, later in the meeting, Margie and Pat will introduce themselves, say a few words. But I think we favor short speeches, so let's just move on.
Mark can't be here. Do you want to?
Treasurer's report, Jerry.
Okay.
10.3.
Yes.
That statement there.
You can pop the slides up there.
Yes, sir.
This is a report, obviously, for the end of March. This is all the good news up front. Accounts receivable are in good position. Apparently, the letters that we sent out with regarding to people that were a little remiss in providing funds on time, mainly which is our fees that we come into at the end of the year, or the beginning of the year, I should say, for all of the assessments. So we're in pretty good shape on that. I think our deficiencies are, I don't know the exact number, but it's minimal to say the least, better than it has been in past years. Resale fees remain very strong. We've got 57 net sales to date. Just got the number here. We have 64 actual sales. 7 sales were owners moving up, so they did not have to pay the $4,500 twice. So they got a credit for that. So that's 64 net sales received. We have another 27 pending. So that gives us 91 coming up for the year. We're budgeted for 100, as we'll see in one of the next slides down the line. So we're in good shape with resale fees. Capital fund balance still very strong due to the strong resale fees, obviously. Revenues, expenses, excluding the activity center, we're better than budget. Fitness profitability continues to go and be below budget, but it's due to participation that we have with regard to COVID-19 situation. And we just have to live with what the law is. Court sports are really on budget, and they're doing reasonably well. If you come down here, I did the other night, they're packed. They're doing very well. The annual foundation budget audit was completed, and that report is available for anybody who wants to see it on the website. If you want to get to the next slide.
All right.
Okay. Take a top look at there's our operating funds. We're basically $462,000. Capital fund 544, replacement fund 462. We got a total basically available cash of $1.4 million. Take a look where our incomes are coming from and our excuse me, expenses. Pretty self-evident. We will have a large expenditure, obviously, with the food and beverage construction that will start sometime, hopefully in June, if not sooner, and that is covered, and we have sufficient funds to cover that. Rather than go through all that, the rest of it's pretty self-explanatory. And for those that are not at home, all of this information is on the website. Let's go to individual setup. For fitness, revenues and expenses, fitness has got the actual 77,000 versus 130,000 budgeted, which again relates to the COVID-19 situation where we can't pack the fitness room at 100%. I doubt seriously if we'll get up to a position to rectify that to a large degree, because it's the end of season and we'll live with our normal sequence of events during the summer and early fall. And by that time, I'm hoping that we all are hoping, saying that we're all going to be in full capacity to operate in a full manner. Court sports doing relatively good. Revenue is up 10,000 versus budget of 10,000, which is great. Expenses right in line with a couple $100, so we're in good shape there. And all of this in relationship, it's hard to relate it back to that last column of 2020, because 2019 and 2020 are two different centuries, not years but centuries. So I almost don't want to even put that in there, to tell you the truth. Social, okay, here is another big hit. Revenues at 12,550, budget 3,000, which is really exceptionally good considering everything else. Expenses 7,000 versus 3,000. That's understandable. Again, a lot of this relates to how we have to act and what we're able to do and adhere to the COVID requirements. Activity center, revenues, 100 versus 143, so we're down a little there. Our expenses are down along with that, so we're taking a look at a differential there of $32,000 below what the budget line should be. And again, relate all of this to COVID and hope that this time next year we will have a more solid understanding of where we are and not have to worry about it. Next slide.
Yep.
Okay, this is basically on the resale fee situation. As I said, we had 64 net sales, total sales rather, 57 net, 7 that we refunded $4,500 or didn't charge $4,500 for. The budget, 3-month budget is 25, so we're plus 32. We budgeted 100 for the year. And based on where we stand with 27 sitting in the wings, we're at 91. The way things are right now, I think we should be able to make our budget of 100 sales for the year. Means 9 more to go in 9 months. So I think there's a couple of realtors around, but I think what's got everybody a little concerned is our inventory is basically at an all-time low here. As long as I've been here, since this project was built out, I've never seen the number that low for inventory, never. So that's something maybe down the road we'll have to consider. The allocation of the resale fees is listed below. We provide 45% of it goes to operating, another 30% goes to the replacement fund, which we used to call reserves, and 25% to the capital fund. So we're sitting in a basic position of over $130,000 over the 3-month budget. So the annual budget obviously is $450,000, so we should exceed that or meet that with relative ease. That's all I've got. Any questions? I'm glad to answer them. It's really, I will tell you this, we're in as good a shape as any complex comparable to Pelican Marsh. We're probably 50% better than most. So,
Well, that's a happy report. Thanks, Jerry.
all right, thank you.
Next up is the foundation manager's report, Paul.
Okay. So as season is now starting to wind down, staff is already looking forward to next season. Hopefully that will be some back to normal with the COVID at that point. Again, hopefully in our rearview mirror. Overall, though, I think we fared pretty well this season under the circumstances, being able to keep our facilities mostly open. And certainly the staff appreciates everyone's cooperation and support in following the rules and the additional safety guidelines we put together in place in order to keep us open. So thank you so much. It's going to be a very busy summer for us coming up with the construction of the new outdoor dining patio and bar facility for our new food and beverage service. For those of you sticking around this summer, though, however, please watch out for all the construction zones and directional signage we're going to put up when you're up at the community center to avoid the construction and stay safe. And we'll also be sending out progress reports on the construction to keep everyone in the loop of how the project is going. The CDD is still reviewing potential contractors to replace the existing houses at the entrances to Pelican Marsh. Once they have selected a contractor, hopefully the next month or so, they'll be sharing renderings of the proposed new gatehouses with the members. The plan again is to replace the gatehouse first at the Vanderbilt Beach Road entrance before moving on and doing the other gatehouses at Airport and in 41. Additionally, the phase 3 of the Pelican Marsh Boulevard Median Landscape Beautification Project, which is now going to be from Goodlet Frank Road overpass to the 41 road, should start sometime around June of this summer and hopefully be done within a month or so after that point. And the next monthly meeting for the CDD will be next Wednesday, April 21st at 9 a.m. here in the community center. So we encourage all members to get a chance to attend those meetings. The extended access hours to the gym continues to work out well for us. We now have 260 members who have signed up for this extended access. Over the past 2 months, we have had now 556 residents use the gym in the early morning hours, and another 240 residents use the gym in the evening hours. This effort has now enabled us to spread out the gym usage over the day and open up access to many more residents to use the gym without having an overcrowding issue. There were a total of 632 members, Pelican Marsh members, who took advantage of getting the COVID vaccine through Pelican Marsh and the special program we worked out with the health department. And hopefully by now, most residents have been vaccinated or at least have received their first dosage. And I think we're thinking about the next few weeks, Pelican Marsh is looking to possibly sending out a survey through SurveyMonkey to ask members to let us know how many of you have been vaccinated in an anonymous report, so we can just let members know in Pelican Marsh how many actually have been vaccinated and perhaps give some reassurance that many of us have done our part to keep themselves and their neighbors safe. That's my report. Any questions?
Paul, you said a certain number of people had used the gym before and after hours, took advantage of that. Were those numbers you gave us, tell us again those numbers, and were those individual visits or those were all individual different people?
Individual visits. So I mean, over 2 months, we've had a total of 556 members. This can count maybe 1 or 2 members using it 3 times a week, but use the gym in the early morning hours before we actually open up the community center. And another 240 residents after hours. Again, so this allows them to use the access to the gym without having to pay staff at the front desk to let them in, and spread the hours out so we don't crowd out the mid-afternoon and morning hours.
The monthly numbers?
That is total I gave you were based on roughly 2 months.
800 total.
Or 400 a month. You want to make it easy.
Thanks, Paul.
196, but I think it's outstanding, Paul. And question I would pose to the board to think about is why not open it 24/7 and let people exercise whenever they want? Because thus far it seems that we have increased use and we had only a minimal, a couple instances where we had to take corrective action. It's food for thought. I'm not saying it should be done today, but I would like to see us certainly consider it.
Maybe we add that to the survey.
And just a reminder, speaking to your microphone so they can hear you. I got a text.
That's a terrific idea. Jim and Matt, good ideas. We'll look at this 24/7 expansion, and perhaps we can get the community to help us out by telling us if they would actually use the expanded hours. Thanks again, Paul.
I do have a question, Paul. The Pelican Marsh grounds, like pots and stuff that are around the court sports, tennis, and pickleball, and other areas. There's some areas where the grass has died, and I just wanted to get an update on what's happening with our look,
Well, it's
not just see.
okay. So as far as the grass right behind the community center, adjacent across from court, I think 5 and 7, that grass is being replaced by the CDD. Their irrigation valve got stuck or broken, and it didn't go up, it went up water for a while. So they're replacing that at their cost. We are doing some landscaping around the front entrance to the main doors to the community center, and right at the front entryway to the parking lot to dress up some of the dying bushes to make it look better. As far as the landscaping around the tennis courts and pickleball courts, that is in discussion to see what we can do long-term for replacement. It's going to take some more planning and designing to get that done. Obviously, we have the big project with the food and beverage, so we want to get to that first before we go to that next step.
Well, one of the things at this point is maybe the pots, there are some broken pots, there are dying plants in the pots. Maybe the pots for now should just go.
No, that's in the plan to definitely, the broken pots and the dead plants, just pull those out for now.
Okay,
Just to have rock in its place just for now, and then look long-term to what we can do to replace.
thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, moving on to old business, item 9.1, approval of funds to install security cameras on the pickleball and tennis courts.
I would like to move for approval of that based on the recommendations by the executive committee.
I'm not hearing a second. Let's
How
talk.
about a number?
The total cost to, okay. We got estimates to install cameras on the tennis courts. It'd be 1 camera per 2 courts, and then 2 cameras for the pickleball courts because we have the high fence dividing the courts. With the installation in the cameras and the additional electrical work has to be done for power, we're right at $13,200 to do the work.
All right, by way of a little background here, I've spoken to Director of Court Sports, Chairman of Pickleball Tennis Committee, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of support for this idea. I know the last board thought this was a good idea, and it's been sent to us for funding authorization. And I think that I'm going to suggest we table this item pending further research and interaction with the various interest groups at Pelican March to see whether or not this actually makes sense for us to be doing at this time. So,
I would second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
All right, 6-1. New business, item 10.1, approval of proposed amendment to section 5.01 of the bylaws. So, Paul, do you want to give us a background on bylaw 5.01?
The proposed bylaw amendment is to amend the bylaws currently as they state now back to the original language that allows a board to appoint a officer on the board who is not a president or vice president to someone, a member of the foundation that does not have to be on the board of directors.
And a comment. So in speaking with the foundation's attorney, his opinion is that the Florida statutes were written in such a fashion as to help out small nonprofits and communities who might not have a board member who has the requisite skill set or the interest in being the treasurer. And so we find ourselves in that position here at Pelican March right now. We have a willing and competent candidate for treasurer over here. So we would like to amend this bylaw. And we're going back to the old language. It was recently amended in 2019, and basically we're just restoring this to the prior language. So, any discussion?
So essentially, if I understand this correctly, we're just changing the language back to what it always has been before at Pelican Marsh to give the board the power to have the most qualified resident possible as the treasurer.
Yes. Any discussion? May I have a motion to approve the proposed amendment?
So moved.
Second?
I second it.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 10.2, approval of staff recommendations to expand reopening of the amenities and services. Paul, can you bring us up to date on the staff recommendations?
I gave to the board of directors recommendations from staff to further look at reopening the amenities and services at the community center. From court sports, though court sports has generally been running at normal operations, staff is now recommending that we just remove the remaining restriction requiring members to arrive no earlier than 10 minutes before the court reservation and having to leave promptly thereafter. But we have certainly want to keep signs up reminding people to social distance when possible. And we've also put in hand sanitizer stations at every court that are touchless and automatic to encourage sanitizing as much as possible. As far as bocce goes, we're recommending to allow bocce to return to normal operations, which now will allow a team of 4 players to play each other, another team of 4 players. The only exception is that we're just going to keep the middle court 2 closed to still have the separation needed in that compact area. We're also, as well as court sports and bocce, going to return and replace the tables and chairs for seating outdoors. And again, touchless automatic hand sanitizing stations have also been added to the bocce courts. As far as the fitness division, we're recommending to still continue to have reservations throughout the day, limiting to 45 minutes per session during the open times of the community center when staff is here. However, we're going to recommend now upping the participation to 12 members instead of 10 at one time inside the gym. The exercise classes we have going on now will continue with limited numbers of participants, depending on the availability of the room and space for the class. So, for instance, the spin class outdoors can certainly accommodate a full class, no issue with that. But other classes such as yoga in the aerobics room, we can't have a full capacity of class, so there's still limited numbers of signups on those classes. Concerning the meeting rooms, social activities, and card games, we're recommending that the community center suites for the associations and community committees still remain open for meetings with a maximum of up to 50 people, depending on the room setup. to provide the social distancing needed for the rooms. However, still recommending not to allow any private rentals in the rooms at this point. Social activities will continue to provide small on-site events inside the community center, such as craft classes. Again, limiting up to 50 people depending on the setup of the room. And now we're also recommending that we go back and open up the suites and put in tables and chairs to allow members to come back and play card games, again, with a maximum of 4 people per table and with the tables appropriately spaced out in between the room. Administrative services, we're recommending to now open up the library and computer room for member use, along with the other services that are open for the members, and also to return the tables and chairs back into the lobby for use. We're also talked through, and we think now the time we can open up coffee service again. However, we should put the coffee service outside next to the community center, and the location that can be accessed easily for the tennis players and for the members visiting the community center. But lastly, the recommendation, however, though, is staff is recommending that the current mask mandate required to be wearing a mask inside the community center stay in place at this time.
I have one question. What percentage of the time does the gym seem to be full?
I saw Patrick back there. Yo, Patrick, what's the most, 9 o'clock, 9 and 10? 8 to 11, so starting at 8, the 45-minute sessions up to 11, those tend to be the most in demand. So typically when you come in, those classes or sessions will be filled up with members who signed up.
And the rest of the day, more spotty? There's more likely to be openings?
Generally, yes. If you were to come up to the community center without a reservation, typically we'd have a space or 2 open to let you in the gym.
Okay, that was my next question. If there's availability in the gym, does the front desk know this so that people can access the gym?
Yes, we have the sign-up schedule at the front desk. So if somebody walks in and says, I want to use the gym, they look at the sign-up sheet and they say, what time do you want to go in? And they said, well, I want to go in now. They can look at the schedule and say, okay, we have an opening or 2 openings, whatever. Let them in.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the staff recommendations to expand reopening of the amenities and services.
So move.
Second.
I second.
Okay, let's have some discussion. Anybody who would like to speak about this? On the board?
For clarification, Steve, can you please, I think I know what I heard from Paul, but from what the board has been provided, it said there was something about changing the mask mandate for indoor use. And now I think what I'm hearing from the general manager is no. We're going to
Okay,
continue.
so as many of you are aware, Collier County has lifted the mask mandate as of yesterday. We acknowledge that some people have differing opinions on this topic. However, the Pelican Marsh Foundation has followed CDC guidelines from the onset of COVID-19 and will continue to do so. As of today's date, per CDC guidelines, masks are still required in the community center, including the fitness center and the court sports pro shop. Now, as we move forward and start to come out of this, well, we already started, but we get a higher density of vaccinated people here, and we start to be able to appreciate exactly how many vaccinated people we have. We can start to make some decisions about this. But for right now, the mask mandate, I think, should stay in place. And of course, that is the intent of this motion, is to leave the mask mandate, if you want to call it that, in the community center, fitness center, and court sports building intact. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Steve, I'd just like to say the board had received just a few emails from residents who really feel strongly about leaving the masks on. In my opinion, I represent all the residents, and we want to be respectful of those who maybe for certain situations or haven't yet received their vaccines, they want to feel safe to be able to come inside. And so I have no concerns about leaving it till at least the next meeting or 2. I think we have to listen to everyone, so that's my opinion.
Thanks, Pat.
Well, I learned a long time ago, I can count votes. I know what the position is. I would say this, based on everything that I know input that I hear all over. You gotta be careful about this, because I think next month, I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna hear the same thing. A few people will say, I don't think you should remove the mask. I think people always should wear a mask. Unfortunately, there's no clear evidence, because everybody in this room knows there's studies on both sides of this issue. There have not been any definitive conclusions about mask wearing. In fact, there are a lot of studies that say that these things probably could be more dangerous to your health than if you didn't have them on. Now that, when we started this process, I was an advocate for these. But now that you have the vaccines, you have treatment, and you have a lot of new information, I seriously question whether this is an option. If somebody feels comfortable wearing this, I think it's a personal option. If you don't feel comfortable, I don't think you should have to wear it. I know it's a minority opinion. But I would tell you, in my career, I ran thousands of personal profiles, psychological profiles. And there is a certain element in the population that once something's in place, they are very reluctant to change it. They think that this is what you should do now and forevermore. That's a personal choice. So I'm hoping this board next month won't sit here and say, I heard 6 people didn't want to wear masks. Look, it's a personal choice. I think we got enough evidence today that would say, based on the comparisons from states and every dimension you want to take, that this thing should be optional. If you're comfortable wearing it, you want to sleep in it. I don't really care. But it's my judgment at this point, we could do without it. And if and when this board or any group finally reaches that conclusion, great. We're down 6-1. I'm no fool. I understand that. So I'm just stating my opinion on this. And I also would encourage you at some point to read Michael Creighton's book, State of Fear, because I will tell you that there's always situations that politicians and bureaucrats will seize upon to put you in a state of fear, because it's much easier to control you if I can tell you you have to do this, if I can keep you locked up, if I can guide and direct everything that you do. I'm a very independent guy. I'm probably the highest risk individual in this room. And I still say I would like to have the personal option of wearing a mask when I feel it is necessary. I'm in a lot of meetings at a lot of places. And these things are going away, and I don't see anybody having any problems. So I told Steve I would make this statement today. It is the desire of the board to continue this mandate. I will support it. Thank you.
Much appreciated, Jim.
I'd like to make a statement also, please, before you close it up.
I'm not going to close it up, but I'm going to say something here, and that is that our individual, everyone probably understands this, but our individual beliefs and thoughts on this issue as individuals can be radically different than what we do as a board. As a board, we have a responsibility to the entire community. Current CDC recommendations say that masks are not necessary indoors when you're dealing with an entire population of fully vaccinated people. At this stage of the game, we just don't know what we're dealing with. We don't know who's partially vaccinated, unvaccinated, fully vaccinated. We don't know. And so for now, today, is my recommendation that we do this reluctantly, but I think it's important that we do it for the community and that we revisit this shortly. That's what I have to say about that. Nate?
Okay, thank you. I agree with actually everything that's been said by everybody today on the board, including, I'd like to also back up what Jim said and what Pat said and what Steve said. The problem here is respect, and it's very difficult when we have strongly held opinions that are opposite of each other to fully respect both sides. But we need to respect the people that feel like we need a little bit longer to have a mask, and they also must respect the other side of the people who feel like they've done everything scientifically possible, got vaccinated, and don't need a mask. I think Jim made a very good, important point in that we cannot just keep delaying forever based on no data. We should not just each month say, does somebody still feel fear? Then let's make a vote. So I think that it is wise. In fact, I believe that probably this month we should accept these recommendations and continue with a face mask mandate for 30 more days. But there should be a data point that we base our opinions on, not just several people feeling scared, but rather we should try to find a data point today that we would feel comfortable with tomorrow if that data point were arrived at. Each person could have a different one. If I see the death rates for the whole country drop to 200 a day, or if I saw that everybody in my county being vaccinated, if I saw everybody in my community, 90% of them being vaccinated, find some data point and then look and see if we're getting closer to it. Because like Jim says, it's easy to make decisions not based on data. But I do believe right now it's early in the process, and there is, my recommendation is to continue with the face mask mandate for 30 more days. But I would agree that it should not be indefinite and based only on feelings.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, we've done so well, I think. And as everyone keeps saying, we've had very, very difficult times here for over a year. And we as a community have come together, and we have had some rules and regulations that not everyone felt comfortable with, but I think we have protected ourselves. And I feel like the staff recommendations certainly address a gradual going back to normal, rather than just saying, okay, we're done, that's it, let's stop. I mean, I think it's in the interest of all of us to take our time coming back. This is a big difference, and do as Nathaniel has said, we will revisit it in a month. It's not that long. We've done this for over a year now, and this seems to be respecting most people. And the mask, saying wearing masks outside, that's no longer something that we're saying. And I think that we should just revisit it, and I think that will be good. And I feel very good about the staff's recommendations.
Thank you, Karen. Anybody else?
Steve, I'll say something very quickly. I think as a new member, what I've been super impressed with since the executive committee met and then considered the staff recommendations. The impressive thing that maybe the residents too didn't know is how seriously they take these issues and how they work to research, and they work with not only the administrative staff, but for example, the fitness director and the fitness advisory committee. And those last two people, I think, should be commended for their work in looking at the science and looking at the research, and then also getting back to us on the board about what they think the best practices would be. And I really want to say I appreciate them, as well as the administrative staff, for this list of recommendations.
Thanks, Margie. Anybody else? May I have a motion to approve the recommendation?
Just one comment, audience,
Go ahead.
as usual. Yesterday, the fact that they reduced the requirement for masks at all, okay, what you're gonna find out is somebody's gonna come in here wearing a mask and you tell them to get out, and you got a problem. So,
Not wearing them.
excuse me, not wearing a mask, yeah, because now the law of the land, quote unquote, is you don't have to wear a mask. So we have to use some sort of judgment. The young ladies at the desk would probably be impacted by that. Somebody comes in and says, well, you know, they said there's no more masks necessary, and we say, yeah, you gotta wear a mask. So I think you might want to talk to council before we, you know, step on somebody's toes. Just like you got the 5 or 6 people that have already talked, okay, and they want them, okay? You might got another 5 or 6 people that say, hey, it's all over. Government as usual always helps you out.
Of course. Thanks, Jerry. So to be clear, this motion, this recommendations, series of recommendations from the staff is for a relaxing of restrictions that were put in place to combat COVID-19. And I think we are unanimous in our approval of most of these recommendations. It's the mask thing that is the sticking point, and I think that we will revisit this in a month. We will think about what we can do to protect our employees in the event that someone wants to challenge the rule. And in the meantime, we have a motion. Thank you.
Can the audience comment or not? They can wait till.
Well, we have a motion.
Comments
Motion's
on
second.
Zoom?
And now they can.
Yeah.
They can.
Okay,
Anybody like to comment?
before we vote. Anything on Zoom that relates?
All right, let me go through the quick Zoom questions. No, there's no questions regarding mask.
Okay, let's call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Alrighty. Motion carries. And we will move on to 10.3, approval of recommended building contractor to construct facility for food and beverage service. So Paul, a little background on this one.
All right. Our food service committee member, Mark Slanka, is heading the construction part of it. Couldn't meet her today due to a prior engagement. But we wanted to let everyone know that we did receive 4 proposals to construct the needed facility for the outdoor dining and patio bar facility for the food and service project. The proposals range anywhere from $672,000 up to $830,000. After initial review of those proposals, it was determined that 2 of the contractors were the most complete and in line with our budget expectations. So we invited those 2 contractors in individually. One was Connor Gaskins and the other was DeAngelis Diamond, to bring them in for interviews to learn more about their company and their capabilities to do the job here at Pelican Marsh. The committee found that both companies were very competent and qualified, and we decided to go back with best and final offers to both contractors to see if we can get the price down any lower. A few days later, we received back those best and final offers. And in the end, it was determined after all that DeAngelis Diamond was the best equipped and had the best price overall, and that the foundation should move forward in engaging a contract with them to construct the facility.
All right then. Do I have a motion to approve the recommended building contract?
So moved.
A second? All in, discussion? Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. 10.4, approval of member appointments to Fitness Advisory Committee. Okay, so this is, this advisory committee has asked us to approve their selection for a new member. And this is Ralph Cassia, and I would entertain a motion to approve this member appointment.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. 10.5, approval of the Design Review Committee written report. Paul?
The Design Review Committee provided the board with applications received by owners to make modifications to their homes. The committee reviewed the applications. They all were in compliance with the guidelines of the foundation, and we're recommending to the board to approve this officially today.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Design Review Committee written report.
I have a question. You can get your second. All right.
That's okay. A second?
Second.
I have a question, Paul. There was the one where they were changing the setbacks. Was there, evidently there was no problem with the county or anybody else, because originally there was some question about that, circa 992 Spanish Moss Trail.
So, yes, there's a homeowner who wants to extend his lanai back further, right up into the property line. The current design review guidelines state that all structures of a home, which include the lanai cage, must be at least 10 feet back from the property line unless the board otherwise approves it. So we went out there, looked at it, and the reason why we had that setback in the design review guidelines is to make sure that any structure would not interrupt the sight lines from the adjacent neighbors to like a lake or a nice preserve. We went out there to determine that by doing this extension, it would not affect the sight lines. In fact, the homeowner did get written statements from both his adjacent neighbors that they were fine with the extension. We also brought out John Vanover with the CDD to verify that they would not interrupt or disturb their maintenance of the lake banks, which is said no, it's fine as it is. So at that point, we were then recommending, because of those reasons, that we move forward and let the homeowner extend the lanai.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so we have a motion that's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. All right, it's time for board member comments.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Pelican Marsh, for entrusting me in this position on the Foundation's Board of Directors. Pelican Marsh has been my happy place for 18 years, and now it's the place I call my permanent home. I love my neighbors and friends here at the Marsh. I became interested in being on the Foundation Board a few years ago as a way to give back to my community as they've given to me and my family. I'm looking forward to serving on the board for the next 3 years and will hopefully receive a lot of resident communication, input, and feedback. There are 3 commitments I would like to make to you as a board director. Number 1, I won't forget I work for you. This position is a service position and is being done by me as a representative of the people who live here and a representative of the priorities that they want in their community. Number 2, I'm a rule follower and a strong believer in process. I believe in transparency, and my actions will be guided by the general covenants, the bylaws, and the Foundation of Pelican Marsh rules and regulations. As new improvements and new ideas for improvements or initiatives come up for review, I will seek involvement of the residents. And finally, number 3, while it is impossible to make all of the people happy with me all of the time, it is my modest goal, kind of like Abraham Lincoln's, to make some of the people happy most of the time. My door is open, so to speak. My email is posted on the Pelican Marsh website. And I look forward to working collaboratively with my fellow board members, and most importantly, you, the residents of Pelican Marsh. Again, I am grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. Anybody else?
I would just like to say, as Marty did, we so serve at the pleasure of the residents. It is an unpaid board opportunity for me to get to know people better after being here 7 years, involved in a lot of things. But it's an honor to be able to do something, not just for myself, in a hedonistic way, to have fun. We want everybody to enjoy the amenities and the offerings that Pelican Marsh presents. And I think with the approval overwhelmingly of the restaurant, this is just going to make such a wonderful community to be an even happier place. How much happier can we be? Sunshine, wonderful weather, but it's the people. So thank you all for the opportunity.
Thanks, Pat. Any other board comments? President comments. Oh, sorry.
One comment, Steve. All due respect, I would like to change my vote from no on staff recommendations because that implies I don't agree with staff. I agree with every recommendation by staff except for the one on masks. Therefore, I change my vote. I'm going to abstain on that vote. Hopefully the next month that we deal with this issue and reach a conclusion. Thanks.
So noted. Thank you, Jim.
While I have time to make comments, I wanted to to welcome the new members to the board, including Steve Burke, who you've already heard from. 3 new members, 3 excellent people, already working hard, really already working hard and trying to move the community forward. I'd also like to express my appreciation for Jerry Carbone volunteering after his retirement to keep working as our treasurer. Even though he was planning on retiring, taking some time off, he's damn near 100 years old. And he's still working for us, and I really do appreciate it. I know he didn't have to say yes, but he really does care, and he cares about people's money, he cares about the community, he cares about his friends here. So I want to say thank you to him and the new members.
Only 99.
99, I'm sorry. I was
Thank you.
exaggerating a little bit apparently.
As a last point, I would just like to say that certainly the overarching project that the board has facing it this year is the restaurant project. But that doesn't mean it's the only thing that we're engaged in or the only plans that we have. We are also doing an administrative review of the foundation and of the board itself, and producing a policy manual, an administrative policy manual for this board, for future boards, getting some of the policies written down so there's no confusion about what people, how people do things here at Pelican Marsh. This is a very important thing for the board. We are committed to this idea, and as always, are welcome your input as the residents' input. Okay, so before we adjourn, Paul, we have a change in the meeting date next month that is not reflected on the website. So I just wanted to make
Steve,
sure.
before we go to Paul, could we consider resident comments?
Yes,
Oh,
those
yeah,
are
sorry.
All right, so let's do the ones online first, and then we'll go to the
Sorry about
audience here.
that. Sorry.
Not at all.
Okay. One that came in early in the meeting from Rich Benson, who's over in, I believe, he asked for the Committee on Food Service and the board, do we see any impact on the practices that were in place with respect to residents supplying their own food for events? And specifically, tennis teams and leagues were able to provide their own food, and nothing will change if you want to bring your own. If you have a private event and you want to bring your own food up, such as a group of gathering tennis players, yes, you'll be allowed to do that on your own. You don't have to use the food service here. And again, following the same question, will teams be able to provide snacks and beverages for consumption following their matches? Yes, they will be allowed to bring their own food and snacks after matches. Same thing like for trivia and other potluck things we've had in the past where residents brought their own food to consume after the event. That will still be allowed and in place for those events. Question came in from David. Will car players need to wear masks when seated? Yes, again, the rule states that when you're in the community center at all times, in close proximity to other members, you have to wear your mask. Obviously, if you're at a meeting like we're at now and we're spaced socially apart 6 feet or further, and not facing each other, then we do allow the masks to come down. But when you're in close proximity to other players, such as playing cards at a table, yes, you have to wear your mask. From Melvin Zahn, making sure that the board knew there was an uptick in COVID cases in Carter County. David Bedron, Troon Lakes, an idea for consideration. Normally we get less than 5% of new members annually. Is the board interested in analyzing the new 10% of owners in the last 16 months? That's a large number. We may see measurable demographic changes coming up. Perhaps a survey specifically for new members, including are they younger than our historical average? Second home percentages, the same or different? Their amenities and interest and other measuring points against our past stats that we've done in the past. And somewhat related, given the new large group of members we have coming into Pelican Marsh, perhaps the board could host a get to know your Pelican Marsh event, or probably get to know your Pelican Marsh, staff and neighbors event at the community center this fall, or at a grand opening at the food service operation in the near future. So those are good ideas. Those are the questions online.
Questions from the humans physically present in the room?
Regarding the
Please identify
Do me a favor.
yourself. Microphone.
And come up here to the microphone and wait for the Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is David Speaker from Highland Cove. This is a question regarding the table discussion you guys have regarding the cameras at the courts. We have incurred some damage on the pickleball courts due to some individuals on more than one occasion bringing these, I would say close to 200-pound benches into the pickleball courts, which have a styrofoam base and were being perforated. And there's been also some damage. I'm not going to say it's vandalism, but there's been the link fencing is coming apart. So we're not sure how that's happening. So I was just for your consideration regarding the cameras that perhaps could alleviate that what's happening with the courts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask this resident, please, who would put the benches on that brand new surface? Would it have been a member who was playing and was tired? Would you?
I have my guesses, because there were some younger individuals that were playing, and I approached them, not blaming them.
Sure.
But I said, if you see somebody coming and putting a bench inside the court, know that that the weight of the bench itself could perforate the court. And it has since stopped. So without blaming them. But then, again, there's been some rough play and people bouncing off of fences and not using the right court shoes and marking up and actually slamming their paddles into the perforating the actual courts themselves. So we've seen some damage over the last 3 weeks.
Well, I want to thank you for those comments,
Yes.
because that's exactly what we went through. Because of what you said, you can't see the pickleball courts from inside. These may happen after hours, but if you have tapes, you can identify the offending people and take action. Same goes on tennis courts, where if somebody goes down, people there can do something, you can't see it from the pro shop. And that was specifically why we wanted to have security cameras at all the courts so we could do these things.
Right.
And so I am a little chagrined that this board turned that down when it was already been discussed in dealing with the issues you just brought up.
Well, I would add that they're looking at a cost of $13,000 for the cameras. Now, what happens to repair the courts? I'm not sure what the cost is in that, but I would say that you might be able to mitigate the cost of something like that with cameras.
Well, I'll make a comment about that. The cameras are linked to a digital recording device. Nobody is watching what's going on in these courts. You need you need to augment the staff with full-time people who would sit there and watch screens all day, which is not going to happen. So that in terms of a health event on a court, nobody is going to see this on, unless you want to watch it after the fact. But nobody's going to watch that happen. Nobody's going to see stuff in real time because nobody's watching the screens. And so what you're really asking for is a record of what has already transpired in order to either deal with internally or to hand over to law enforcement. And I guess the question is, in the absence of any crimes involving the tennis courts, is it absolutely necessary to put these cameras up on the tennis courts? Perhaps just the pickleball court, if that is going to be a magnet for delinquent young people at night or whatever who are doing this stuff, although apparently this is all stopped. And it may just have been a couple of kids in Pelican Marsh, is what I'm told, who were off the rails. So, I mean, certainly this is something that's been tabled. We can discuss it again, and will, I'm sure. Perhaps we can modify the proposal. Perhaps we'll end up doing the whole thing, I don't know. But that's really the truth of the matter. Nobody's watching this stuff in real time. Nobody's going to. So.
Well, thank you for your consideration.
Excuse me, Steve, it was my understanding that for pickleball, the person behind the desk in the pro shop is there looking at this. I mean, they may be doing other things, but they see what's going on in the courts. That may be a misconception on my part, but whatever we do, I hope that we work through this, because people in the pro shop should be able to see what's going on in the courts. Number one. Number two, I would hope there's a taping device so that you've got a 24-hour record. Because if the pro comes in and sees there's damage anywhere, that tape at least gives you some indication. So I'm just saying for the future, let's make sure we got the right equipment, doing the right things, and people are paying attention.
So Jim, that's what I wanted to ask. Are these security cameras such that we don't get any recording of anything?
No, we do. So the security cameras that are out in the parking lot.
But you can look, so you can look back.
Sure, they're digitally recorded, they overwrite every 3 days, so you get a 3-day history. So if you saw some problem, and you wanted to look back and see, you do that.
So it would have been clear who put the bench on the.
Yeah.
The other thing about cameras, which I am told frequently by my husband, is you're always on camera. Meaning that cameras are also a detriment when people, to activities. When people see cameras, I think they think, oh, I'm gonna be on camera. That really is true. And there are cameras everywhere now, so I don't know. But the fact that you can see, if it's 3 days, I agree, Jim. You can look back and see. You're not doing it real time.
I would like to make a comment that it was my understanding from speaking with staff that the incidents on the pickleball courts was all related to most likely 4 young males and rambunctious behavior, even playing in the dark with no lights, and that their parent has been spoken to, and possibly that incident may be over. Other than that one little flurry of bad behavior, I think that on all the tennis courts and on the pickleball court, we might have many years of past no bad behavior. I mean, I don't believe that there's been crimes happening on the tennis courts. And if all the bad behavior is isolated just on the pickleball court, then there might be a modification of this motion that we end up with a type of camera that, like Jim suggests, maybe one that's only on pickleball court and records and is visible to the staff in the tennis office. That might be something that we should explore while this is tabled and find out if there's a savings there. We want to spend the money wisely.
So what you're saying is operational hours, not extended hours.
No, I think you need both. If you're gonna do it,
It's on 24/7.
it doesn't cost you anything to leave the camera on and it's recorded.
So
digitally.
how it works now is that the cameras for the parking lots, we have 2 monitors in our offices. So on one monitor in the downside of the corner, we have the cameras up on the parking lot. So we can quickly view what's going on live in the parking lot. Obviously, we're not here at night. We come back in the morning, find something destroyed. We can go back to the camera and find out what may happen. Same thing would be for the cameras for the pickleball courts. They could put a downsized screen on their monitor so they can actually look live what's happening on pickleball courts. Who's out there, who's playing, and obviously anything happened overnight, look at the tape for the previous night.
Well, I think this will bear further investigation. Perhaps it's a value to put something on pickleball as an initial foray into this surveillance item.
Steve,
Thank you very much for your comment.
Thank you.
can I make a comment again?
Please.
The history goes back, okay, about cameras that we wanted on these courts, goes back as much as 10, 12 years. And now that we're going to be building this facility that's going to have some fairly expensive furniture out there, and equipment, et cetera, the one thing everybody forgets about, what we were concerned about, we did have some instances of difficulty and problems. You can walk into this property just coming off of Goodletts Frank Road with relative ease, guys. I mean, they can walk down that little ramp, and they're right here. So, we tried to do this and we forestalled those cameras, I would say almost 15 years.
I thought we
The
authorized
price
cameras.
involved,
Didn't we authorize cameras for the food service facility? I think we authorized those.
We authorized the whole process, and I think the total was around 13.5, whatever. My numbers may be off a little bit. We have the money, and I just think for safety's sake, today you've got a staff person that has to run up and down the tennis courts to find out who's playing? Because they can't see the courts.
Right, but if you talk to the director of court sports, he doesn't see the utility in having a camera on the tennis courts. You know, this is what he said. And, you know, it's easier for him to send her out with the clipboard than it is for somebody to sit there and try to figure out who's who on the screen. It sounds good, but is it practically, you know, look, this is it's not nothing, right? It's not $0, so we have to kind of think about this, but certainly these are all good arguments. One question I have, and Jerry, Jim, you might know the answer to this. This item that Nate brings up, this idea of cameras on the restaurant, was that included in this package? Or were these cameras on the tennis courts that would peripherally pick up a table or chair outside the restaurant?
We currently have one camera as part of the package on the parking lot that is mounted in the corner that gets a wide view angle of the current courtyard. So we have a courtyard shot. It's not a close-up or anything, but it's a courtyard shot.
We have a meeting on Monday with the audiovisual guy. So we can see what options we might have or may need to address and get back to the board.
Let's do that. Let's dig into this and see if our next meeting we can resolve this.
We have $44,000 in the budget for AV. Some of that may be able to use for camera in food service, right?
Cameras.
Yeah, cameras in the food service.
You don't have cameras.
So Bob may be able to.
Hi. There's
Hey,
also
Bob.
Shutter.
Microphone. Thanks.
On the food service, there's also shutters that'll go down, that people can enter in and out. So it'll totally at night when we're done, they push a button, they all come down to the ground. So in the evening hours, it will be totally sealed off. Just to give you that notice.
Thank you, Bob. Any other comments? So as a procedural issue, the meeting date for the next meeting, Paul, is on the website. It's the
Yeah.
20th, but it is-
I wanted to follow up. There's one last question online, and homeowner asked, Pat Jordan asked, could the foundation offer a ribbon or something similar that would indicate that a person's been vaccinated? I guess we would provide signage so they came to the community center and say, okay, that person's been vaccinated.
You
It's like
can't
a
ask
vaccinate
that. It
passport.
violates HIPAA. You can't go around asking people, did you have your flu shot, did you had your tetanus shot, or whatever it is. You can't do that. Or if somebody anonymously responds to a survey and says, yes, I've had them, you're okay. Other than that, frankly, I would say you better leave it alone.
I'd like to respond to Pat Jordan. I appreciate your interest in this community and asking the question. The board has been working with Paul and with Pelican Marsh staff in exploring the idea of a survey going out regarding an anonymous survey regarding residents who have been vaccinated, so that we would indeed have a data point and have some idea about our residents and how many are vaccinated. So I don't know that that's quite the visual that Pat was talking about, but I appreciate her question, and I think that we're going to continue to have more discussion.
Anything else? Paul, the next meeting.
Hold on, you got a question?
Do we have any provisions, I may be part-time, but do we have any provisions to take care of the growth that we have against the wall? That wall,
On Goodwood?
yeah,
On Goodwood?
because it's looking very shabby.
Yeah, that's been addressed. The CDD does that for us, and it's on their schedule in the very near future to come and trim out the bougainvillea and the other trees on that wall pretty soon. So yes.
Pretty soon means,
Well, they're finishing up a project right now with the landscaping on the boulevard. So we're looking at May time frame to get it done.
Thanks, Wayne.
thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so the next meeting will be on May 13th, not May 20th, as it says on the website. We reschedule it. And so that's just a public service announcement. May I have A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.